Salve! Welcome to this video lesson on Familia Romana Capitulum Primum. We're going to look at the grammar for this chapter. So, essentially, here's the grammar. We're looking at singular and plural, or in Latin, singulares et pluralis, singular and plural, as terms for verbs, nouns, adjectives, this kind of thing. Now, in English, it's easy enough for most plural nouns. We just say, cat, and then the plural of that is cats, right, adding the S. And then we have some irregulars like oxen, child, children, things like that, goose and geese. But for the most part, it's just adding an S for the plural. With verbs, there is one difference left in verbs in English between like a he, she, it form of a verb in the present tense, like is or goes, versus the plural form, which we also use for all the other things like I and you. So I say, like, for example, goes in the he, she, it form, he, she, it goes to town, but then I say they go to town, right? That's the plural. So in Latin, those kind of distinctions are pretty much always going to be there, not only for nouns, singular and plural, and verbs, singular and plural, and not just present tense verbs like English. See, in English, like if we do a past tense like went, she went to town, they went to town, it's the same. In Latin, every kind of verb, singular and plural, are going to be different. In Latin, every kind of noun, singular and plural, are different. But also adjectives have singular and plural in Latin, because adjectives are going to agree with nouns. So there's a little heads up on that. One other thing before we get into looking at specific examples here in Grammatica Latina is that in Latin we have grammatical gender. Now, English long ago, because it is an Indo-European language related to ancient Latin, ancient Greek, and so on, long ago we used to have grammatical gender. Now, grammatical gender is not quite like real-world gender, although there are some overlaps. Generally speaking, if you're talking about people and you know it's a guy, it's going to be masculine. If you're talking about people, you know it's a girl, it's going to be feminine, generally speaking. But in languages with grammatical gender, you can also have things that are masculine or feminine, and in Latin you have a third category, neuter. Now, it comes from the Latin word nelter, which literally means neither, so it's neither masculine nor feminine. That's pretty much all you need to know, but just a little caveat here, that things don't always end up being the gender you would expect, right? So, for example, love is masculine. You might have thought it would be feminine. I'm speaking of Latin here, because every language might be different. The word for manliness, virtus, in Latin is actually a feminine word. That might seem a little silly, but it's because it's an abstract noun, and almost all abstract nouns are feminine in Latin. So those are just a couple examples to show you that it can be a little bit weird and not what you expect. All right. So, singularis et pluralis, singular and plural. Nilus fluvius magnus est, the Nile is a big river. Okay. Notice it says Nile, river, big is, if we follow the word order of the Latin. But we want to change that around because English likes the verb in the middle. Latin has est at the end. Latin usually has adjectives following the noun. So magnus, the word for big, follows fluvius, the word for river. But English, it's the other way around. And in fact, English is kind of the odd one out. Most languages around the world have adjectives, descriptive adjectives like this, what they're called attributive adjectives, following the noun. Nilus et Rhenus fluvii magni sunt. The Nile and the Rhine are big rivers. Now notice that sunt is the plural verb are. Fluvii and magni now end with a long I instead of the US. That's the masculine plural ending. The us is the masculine singular. The E, or long I ending, is the masculine plural ending. Fluvius singularis est, fluvii pluralis est. Singularis us, pluralis I. Okay, just explaining that in Latin. Exemplum, numerus, the singular. Numeri, the plural. So to translate those, numerus would be number, and numeri would be numbers. Unus parvus numerus est. One is a small number. Unus et duo parvi numeri sunt. 1 and 2 are small numbers. Notice we go from parvus numerus, the singular endings, and the singular verb est, to parvi, numeri, and sunt, the plural endings and the plural verb. Corsica insula magna est. Now we've switched to a feminine noun. Corsica is feminine, insula is feminine, and the adjective magna, because it describes the feminine noun insula, is also given a feminine ending. The feminine singular ending, this is a first declension ending, we'll learn more about that later, is a short a. And then again we have est, which is the singular verb for is. Corsica et Sardinia insulae magnae sunt. Corsica and Sardinia are big islands. We've changed insula to insulae. The adjective has to change to agree with it, to magnae. And instead of est, which is, the singular verb, we have sunt, which is are. Insula singularis est, insulae pluralis est, singularis a, pluralis I. Again, just explaining everything in Latin. Alright, we'll switch to the next page, finish this up. So, exempla, examples, littera, litterae, letter, letters, provincia, provinciae, province, provinces. Province is kind of like a state. It's a region inside of the Roman Empire. A littera latina est. A is a Latin letter. A et B litterae latinae sunt. A and B are Latin letters. Now we switch littera, singular, to litterae, plural. We had the adjective latina, switching to latinae because of the plural switch. And est, which is, singular verb, goes to sunt, which is are. Gallia est provincia Romana. Gaul is a Roman province. Gallia et Hispania provinciae Romanae sunt. Gaul and Spain are Roman provinces. Prontisium oppidum magnum est. Now we're switching genders again. This is the grammatical gender neuter. In the singular, it's marked with a um ending. Brundisium, oppidum, magnum, right? So, Brundisium is a big town. Brundisium et Sparta oppida magna sunt. Brundisium and Sparta are big towns. Now, notice here, the word for towns, oppida, has changed that ending to an a. That's the neuter plural ending. Which, by the way, a little caveat here, if it's an type word that's neuter, the a means it's plural. But if it were a feminine word, that singular, or not singular, but the short a would be a singular, right? So Corsica or insula, feminine words, that is singular. But on oppidum, the a ending makes it plural. So you got to watch out for that. You got to know what kind of word the word is. So get used to thinking about the word with the singular ending on it. That'll kind of remind you what sort it is. Brundisium et Sparta oppida magna sunt. Brundisium and Sparta are big towns. Again, we have the verb sunt, the plural verb. All right, and it does a little explanation in Latin. Oppidum singularis est. Oppidum is the singular. Oppida pluralis est. Oppida is plural. Singularis pluralis a. Exempla, examples. Vocabulum, word. Vocabula, words. Exemplum, example. Exempla, examples. Littera est vocabulum Latinum. Letter is a Latin word, or specifically the word littera is a Latin word. Non Graecum, not Greek. In other words, not a Greek word. Notice Graecum has the ending because it's understanding vocabulum there. When we say it is a Latin word, not a Greek one, what do we mean? Well, we mean it's not a Greek word. And since the word vocabulum is neuter, Graecum, the adjective here, has the neuter ending to agree with vocabulum. In other words, it's parallel to Latinum, right? It's doing the same grammatical function, acting the same way in that sentence. Littera et numerus non vocabula Graeca sed Latina sunt. Littera and numerus are not Greek words, but are Latin. Well, I hope this grammatical lesson taught you a few things. Again, the main factors here are singular versus plural, and then understanding grammatical gender and how that affects things in a basic way.